Captain Maya Rodriguez slouched deeper into her command chair, boots propped irreverently on the pristine console of humanity's last surviving warship. They didn't even bother to learn our names. Her XO, Lieutenant James Walker, barely glanced up from the status readouts scrolling past his eyes. I mean, to be fair, boss, most of us can't pronounce their names either. That's not the point, and you know it. Maya jabbed an accusatory finger at the swirling mass of alien warships visible through the bridge viewport. They showed up, declared us an infestation of primitive bipedal organisms, and started glassing our colonies. Didn't even try to say hi first. The Galactic Concordat does have rather strict protocols about first contact scenarios, the ship's AI chimed in, its avatar materializing as a slightly translucent floating octopus wearing a bow tie. Maya had long since given up asking why it chose that particular form. Shut up, Dave, Maya and James said in perfect unison, then shared a tired grin. After 3 years of running from the Concordat's extermination fleets, the crew had developed a certain rhythm. I'm just saying, Dave continued, completely unfazed, that from their perspective, we did violate several key tenets of civilized spacefaring society. Maya rolled her eyes. Oh yes, how dare we develop FTL travel without filing the proper paperwork in triplicate first? Clearly that deserves genocide. Actually, it was quadruplicate, Dave corrected helpfully. And you forgot about the unauthorized quantum tunneling experiments, the unregulated use of antimatter containment fields, and that incident with the dimensional breach in Milwaukee. That wasn't our fault, James protested. How were we supposed to know that poking holes in space-time would attract interdimensional space sharks? The point is, Maya cut in before Dave could start another lecture on proper paradigm-shifting paperwork procedures. They didn't give us a chance, just showed up guns blazing because we didn't follow their precious rules. Rules we didn't even know existed. She stood up and started pacing, a habit that had worn a visible path in the deck plating over the years. We tried to talk. We tried to negotiate. Hell, we even offered to pay their stupid fines retroactively. But no, can't have those uppity humans mucking about in their perfect little galactic community. To be fair, boss, attempting to bribe the enforcement fleet with cat videos probably didn't help our case. Maya pointed at her XO triumphantly. See? That's exactly what I mean. Any species that can't appreciate the majesty of a kitten riding a Roomba while wearing a shark costume clearly lacks the emotional capacity for meaningful dialogue. Dave's tentacles rippled in what might have been amusement. I believe their exact words were disturbing evidence of humanity's inherent chaos and disregard for proper order. Yeah, well... Maya's retort was cut short by a warning klaxon. James straightened in his chair, fingers flying over his console. Multiple signatures dropping out of FTL, boss. Looks like the whole damn enforcement fleet this time. Maya's expression shifted from irritated to predatory. Well, about time they caught up. Dave, status on Project Murphy? The AI's bow tie spun in what they'd learned to recognize as excitement. All systems nominal, Captain. Though I feel compelled to point out once again the sheer mathematical improbability of this plan actually working. That's why they'll never see it coming. Maya dropped back into her chair, her grin now matching the AI's manic energy. You know what humans are really good at, James? Her XO didn't even look up from his preparations. Breaking things? Breaking things in spectacular and unexpected ways, she corrected. The Concordat thinks they're so advanced with their rules and their order and their perfectly predictable universe. They've forgotten something fundamental about reality. Murphy's Law, Dave intoned solemnly, all 8 tentacles raised in mock reverence. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong, James quoted, then added, preferably in the most entertaining way possible. Maya's fingers danced across her command console, bringing up the final sequence they'd spent 3 years preparing. You know what else they forgot? Humans didn't become the dominant species on Earth by being the biggest or the strongest. We did it by being the most stubborn bastards to ever evolve opposable thumbs. James finished with a fierce grin of his own. The enemy fleet was fully emerging now, thousands of ships arranged in perfect geometric formations. Their comm systems crackled to life with the expected ultimatum, delivered in the Concordat's typical tone of bored superiority. Primitive organisms, your continued existence represents an unacceptable violation of galactic order. Surrender now for immediate processing and cataloging of any potentially useful genetic material. Maya took a deep breath, savoring the moment. Dave, please compose a reply. Make it appropriately formal. Of course, Captain. Shall I include the traditional human farewell gesture? Oh, absolutely. It's important to respect local customs, after all. The AI's avatar raised a tentacle in a surprisingly accurate middle finger as it transmitted their response. Dear Concordat, thanks for all the fun, but we think it's time we introduced a little chaos into your ordered universe. We call it Project Murphy. You're welcome. James started the countdown. Quantum field generators at maximum. Probability matrices aligned. Reality anchors disengaging in 3, 2, 1. Maya whispered. Murphy's Law, you pretentious xeno-bastards. Have fun with that. And then they activated their device. The culmination of 3 years of desperate research, forbidden science, and humanity's unique talent for weaponizing universal constants. The quantum field expanded outward, carrying with it a carefully engineered probability cascade that would permanently alter the fundamental laws of cause and effect within Concordat space. From this point forward, in every Concordat system, the improbable would become probable. The unlikely would become certain. Every perfectly maintained machine would find new and exciting ways to malfunction. Every meticulously calculated jump would have a small but significant chance of ending up somewhere completely different. Every carefully planned operation would be subject to the eternal truth that humanity had learned to embrace eons ago. Stuff breaks, things go wrong, and the universe has a sense of humor. The effect was immediate and glorious. Ships began to drift out of formation as their gravity drives hiccuped. Weapon systems misfired or refused to fire at all. Navigation computers suddenly developed an interest in interpretive dance. And through it all, Maya's ship, the aptly named Cosmic Joke, sailed serenely past the chaos, protected by the simple fact that they designed their systems to expect and work with Murphy's Law rather than trying to deny its existence. Message incoming, Dave announced cheerfully. Would you like me to translate the profanity, or shall I just give you the highlights? Oh, give us the full version, Maya said, settling back to enjoy the show. I want to savor this moment. The alien commander's voice was considerably less composed this time. What have you done, you primitive? Untranslatable but presumably anatomically impossible suggestion. Monsters? We didn't do anything, Maya replied innocently. We just helped the universe express its natural tendency toward entropy. Maybe if you'd bothered to actually study us instead of just trying to exterminate us, you'd have learned that humans figured out a long time ago that you can't fight chaos. You have to learn to surf it. They watched as the mighty Concordat fleet descended into complete disorder. Ships were randomly jumping to different dimensions. Weapon systems were transforming into various musical instruments. At least one dreadnought appeared to be trying to mate with an asteroid. You know, James mused as they prepared to make their own exit. We probably should feel bad about this. We basically just broke physics for an entire civilization. Maya shrugged. They tried to wipe us out because we didn't file our paperwork correctly. I think this counts as proportional response. Besides, we're not completely heartless. We left them instructions on how to fix it. You mean that message that only appears if they can successfully get their entire bureaucracy to agree on something in less than one standard solar cycle? Exactly, see? We're giving them a chance to grow as a species. Maya stretched and checked their course heading. Now, I believe we have a standing invitation from those nice folks in the Andromeda Galaxy. The ones who actually bothered to say hello before making any judgments? Course already plotted, boss. Though Dave says there's a 13.7% chance we might accidentally create a new form of mathematics on the way. Only 13.7%? That's practically a guarantee of smooth sailing by our standards. Maya took one last look at the chaos they were leaving behind. Send a final message to the Concordat, Dave. Something appropriately diplomatic. The AI's avatar grinned, which should have been impossible given its octopoid form. Message sent. Dear Galactic Concordat, the next time you encounter a new species, maybe try saying hello first. P.S. The probability of your pants spontaneously turning into pudding will return to normal once you learn this lesson. P.P.S. Yes, we did just weaponize karma. You're welcome. With that, the Cosmic Joke jumped to FTL, leaving behind a galaxy that would forevermore be just a little bit more interesting. And if the Concordat's historians later noted that this marked the beginning of what they called the Age of Improbability, well, that was probably just a coincidence. Probably. You know what the best part is? Maya said as they settled in for the long journey to Andromeda. Some poor bureaucrat is going to have to figure out how to classify this in their incident reports. James actually giggled. Form X1337B. In case of reality breach via malicious compliance with universal constants. See? We're helping them expand their administrative capabilities too. We're practically heroes. Dave's bow tie spun again. I've just calculated that there's a 99.9% chance that this incident will lead to the creation of at least 12 new departments dedicated to preventing this sort of thing from happening again. Maya's grin could have powered a small sun. Mission accomplished then. Set course for Andromeda. Maximum speed. Let's see what other laws of physics need a good humorous disruption. As the cosmic joke vanished into the depths of space, the last human ship carrying the last free humans left the Milky Way to its fate. Behind them, the Galactic Concordat was learning some very important lessons about the danger of underestimating species that had evolved on planets where survival of the fittest often meant survival of whatever damn fool thing actually worked. And somewhere, in the vast quantum probability spaces that humans had learned to navigate by simply accepting their fundamental absurdity, Murphy himself was probably laughing. I spy with my little eye. Lieutenant James Walker paused dramatically. Something beginning with V. Void. It's definitely void. Captain Maya Rodriguez didn't even look up from her dog-eared copy of How to Make Friends in New Galaxies Without Accidentally Starting Interstellar Incidents. It's been void for the last 6 games, James. Actually, Dave's octopoid avatar shimmered into view, bow tie slightly askew. I believe he's referring to the rather vibrant violation of physics occurring at coordinates 227 Mark 35. Maya finally glanced up. Through the cosmic joke's viewport, reality was doing something that could best be described as interpretive dance. Huh, that's new. See? James grinned triumphantly. Not void. That, Maya pointed at the swirling anomaly, is a direct result of what we did to the Concordat's space. The probability waves are still propagating. Dave's tentacles wiggled in what they'd learned to recognize as scientific excitement. Fascinating. It appears our introduction of Murphy's Law into the fabric of reality has had some unexpected side effects. The quantum ripples are creating a sort of probability wake as we travel. In English, Dave, we're leaving a trail of chaos behind us, rather like a cosmic breadcrumb trail. Except instead of breadcrumbs, we're dropping little pockets of anything that can go wrong, will go wrong across the intergalactic void. Maya pinched the bridge of her nose. Please tell me we're not accidentally breaking the entire universe. Oh, no, Dave assured her. We're just making it more interesting. Think of it as adding spice to a rather bland cosmic soup. Speaking of soup, James interjected, remember that time we accidentally turned the Concordat High Commander's ceremonial armor into tomato bisque during our escape from Sector 7? That was an accident, Maya grinned. I specifically calibrated the probability field to target anything overly pompous. The fact that it manifested as soup was just a bonus. Their reminiscing was interrupted by a series of alerts from the sensor array. Dave's avatar spun in place, all 8 tentacles extended in different directions as it processed the data. Well, the AI announced. Good news and bad news. Good news. We've officially reached the outer edges of Andromedan space. Bad news. We appear to have attracted some attention. The main view screen filled with images of approaching vessels. Unlike the rigid geometric patterns favored by the Concordat, these ships moved in fluid, organic formations that seemed to shift and adapt moment by moment. Are they hostile? Maya straightened in her chair, old combat instincts kicking in. Unknown. Their ships appear to be... Dave paused, bow tie twitching in confusion. Laughing? Sure enough, when the comm system crackled to life, the sound that came through was unmistakably amused. The translation matrix took a moment to process before rendering it into English. Greetings, probability surfers. We've been watching your approach for some time. Your wake of delightfully improbable events has provided excellent entertainment. Maya exchanged looks with her crew. This was already going better than their last first contact. At least no one was trying to catalog their genetic material. This is Captain Maya Rodriguez of the Earthship Cosmic Joke. We come seeking asylum from the Galactic Concordat, who didn't appreciate our creative approach to physics violations. There was a pause. Then, yes, the Concordat. Such delightful stick-in-the-muds. We've been monitoring their recent probability issues with great amusement. That was your work? In our defense, James chimed in. They started it. Another burst of alien laughter. Of course they did. The Concordat has never understood the essential role of chaos in the cosmic dance. Please, join us at the following coordinates. We would very much like to discuss your methodology for weaponizing universal constants. As the coordinates streamed in, Dave conducted a quick analysis. It appears to be an invitation to their equivalent of a scientific symposium, though the translation matrix is suggesting it might also be a comedy club. Maya grinned. Why not both? Set course, James. Let's see if the Andromedans appreciate a good quantum physics joke. The next few hours proved that the Andromedans not only appreciated quantum humor, they practically built their civilization around it. Where the Concordat had sought to impose rigid order on the universe, the Andromedan Alliance had embraced its fundamental absurdity. Their ships were powered by paradox engines. Their cities existed in multiple quantum states simultaneously. Their entire economy was based on the exchange of improbable events. You mean to tell me, Maya said, staring at her hosts in disbelief, that you actually measure wealth in terms of how many impossible things you can make happen before breakfast? The Andromedan scientist, whose name translated roughly to "she who juggles quantum uncertainties for fun," wiggled her probability appendages in affirmation. Is this not how all advanced civilizations operate? Where we come from, they mostly just try to pretend impossibilities don't exist, James explained. And then they get very upset when reality proves them wrong. How inefficient! Why deny the fundamental nature of existence? The scientist's color-shifting epidermis rippled with patterns that the translation matrix suggested meant amused disbelief. Your method of introducing them to chaos was quite elegant, though perhaps a bit gentle. Maya choked on her drink. Gentle? We basically broke their entire concept of cause and effect. Yes, but you left them a way to fix it. Very sporting of you. We would have simply converted their entire regulatory database into interpretive dance instructions. Actually, Dave interjected, his bow tie spinning with excitement, there's a 37% chance that's exactly what's happening right now in the Concordat's central archives. The resulting burst of Andromedan laughter caused several nearby probability fields to hiccup, temporarily turning a portion of the conference room into a small jazz quartet. As the humans settled into their new home among the Andromedans, they discovered that they'd finally found a civilization that truly understood them. Here was a species that didn't just tolerate humanity's chaotic nature, they celebrated it. Every human tendency that had horrified the Concordat delighted the Andromedans. Let me get this straight, Maya said during one particularly memorable cultural exchange session. You want us to teach you how to make what we call dad jokes? Your ability to generate groans of existential despair through mere wordplay is fascinating. Surely this must be some advanced form of quantum manipulation. Nope. Just terrible puns. Speaking of which, hey James, why don't quantum physicists starve to death? Her XO groaned preemptively. I don't know, boss. Why? Because they can eat probability particles for lunch and still have uncertainty for dinner. The resulting Andromedan appreciation caused 3 different reality matrices to collapse and reconstitute themselves as a small barbershop quartet, which immediately began singing a physics-themed version of Sweet Adeline. Dave's avatar appeared, somehow managing to look both amused and concerned. Captain, I feel compelled to inform you that your last joke just caused a 12% increase in local entropy levels. The Andromedans are already trying to replicate the effect. Maya leaned back in her chair, watching as their new allies enthusiastically attempted to weaponize bad humor. You know what, Dave? I think we're going to fit in just fine here. Indeed. Though I should note that there's now a 68% chance that the next Andromedan diplomatic mission to the Concordat will consist entirely of quantum-enhanced knock-knock jokes. Good, Maya said with satisfaction. Maybe it'll help them develop a sense of humor. Speaking of which, hey, want to hear what happened when a quantum physicist got pulled over by a cop? James buried his face in his hands. Oh no. The cop asked, "Do you know how fast you were going?" And the physicist said no, but I know exactly where I am. As reality hiccuped around them once again, Maya couldn't help but think that sometimes the best revenge wasn't just success. It was finding people who actually appreciated your particular brand of chaos. Somewhere in the vast quantum probability spaces between galaxies, Murphy himself was definitely laughing now. And thanks to humanity's influence, he had company. I think we might have made a terrible mistake, Captain Maya Rodriguez announced, watching as an Andromedan probability scientist attempted to perform what they claimed was a quantum-enhanced version of the "why did the chicken cross the road" joke. The resulting space-time distortion had turned half the research facility into what appeared to be a disco-themed petting zoo. In our defense, Lieutenant James Walker replied, carefully stepping around a glitter-covered goat that was somehow dancing to the Bee Gees. How were we supposed to know they'd take dad jokes this seriously? Dave's octopoid avatar materialized, its bow tie now sporting a tiny disco ball. I did try to warn you about the exponential growth potential of combining human humor with Andromedan probability manipulation. Yes, you're very smart. Maya waved a tentacle at the AI, and then froze, staring at her suddenly non-human appendage. Dave? Why do I have tentacles? That would be a side effect of the latest experiment. The Andromedans are trying to understand the human concept of getting into character through quantum empathy fields. Don't worry, it's probably temporary. Probably? There's a 73.2% chance you'll return to normal human form once the joke's entropy wave dissipates. Though I should note there's also a 12.4% chance you might spontaneously develop a British accent. Before Maya could respond, their Andromedan host, now calling themselves She Who Makes Reality Itself Groan in Despair, rippled excitedly into the room. Wonderful news, human friends! We've successfully mapped the quantum resonance patterns of your pun technology. Observe. The Andromedan's probability appendages twisted in what they'd learned was the local equivalent of clearing one's throat, and then, what do you call a quantum physicist who always misses their target? A wave function collapse. The resulting reality distortion turned everyone's clothes into particle physics diagrams and caused a small rain of complementary electrons in the corner of the room. Maya pinched the bridge of her nose with one of her temporary tentacles. That was actually pretty good. But maybe we should discuss setting some safety protocols. I'm a little concerned about the escalating side effects. Safety protocols? The Andromedan's color-shifting skin rippled with patterns that translated roughly as amused confusion. But the chaos is the whole point. Besides, we've already scheduled the first intergalactic quantum comedy tour. James, who had been trying to convince the disco goat to stop eating his datapad, looked up sharply. The first what now? Oh yes, we're sending a joint human-Andromedan delegation on a grand tour of neighboring galaxies, spreading the joy of probability-enhanced humor to all sentient species. The Concordette's reaction alone should be worth the space-time distortions. Dave's avatar somehow managed to look both concerned and delighted. Captain, I feel I should inform you that I've just calculated a 99.9% chance that this will cause some form of cosmic incident. Maya, who had finally managed to return to her normal human form, though she was now inexplicably speaking with a slight Scottish brogue, sighed deeply. Well, at least this time we're causing interstellar chaos on purpose. When do we start? The tour, as it turned out, began almost immediately. The Andromedans, despite their mastery of quantum physics and probability manipulation, shared humanity's tendency to act first and deal with consequences later. Within a week, the cosmic joke had been retrofitted with what their allies called a hilarity drive, a probability engine specifically calibrated to enhance the cosmic impact of bad puns. Their first stop was a civilization in a neighboring dwarf galaxy, known for their extremely literal interpretation of everything. The resulting cultural exchange nearly caused a localized reality inversion when Maya tried to explain the concept of taking a joke too far to a species that immediately attempted to physically capture and relocate humor itself. Look, she tried to explain to the alien council. When I said the punchline was out of this world, I didn't mean you needed to build a spatial transportation device for it. But where else would it go? The council responded in perfect unison, their probability calculators already spinning up to map possible joke trajectories. By the time they left, the entire species had developed an appreciation for metaphor that manifested as spontaneous poetry erupting from their technical manuals. Their engineering texts now rhymed, their safety protocols were written in limerick form, and their quantum physics equations had developed a tendency to rearrange themselves into haiku. The second stop went somewhat smoother, although they did accidentally teach a race of silicon-based beings the concept of sarcasm, leading to what would later be known as the Great Sass Uprising of Galaxy Sector 7. In retrospect, James noted as they fled from a particularly aggressive group of critics. Maybe we shouldn't have shown them Earth's old internet comment sections as examples. How was I supposed to know they'd develop an entire philosophical movement based on the art of the sick burn? Maya defended, steering the cosmic joke through a series of impossible turns that were only possible thanks to their new probability drive. Dave's avatar appeared, somehow managing to look smug. I did calculate a 87.3% chance of cultural contamination, though I admit, I didn't expect them to weaponize passive-aggressive responses quite so effectively. The tour continued, spreading what the Andromedans had dubbed quantum comedy across several galaxies. Each stop added new elements to their repertoire, as different species contributed their own unique perspectives on humor and improbability. The methane-breathing clouds of the Carina Nebula taught them about humor through chemical reactions, leading to the development of jokes that literally produced different flavors when told. The time-shifted beings of the Hourglass Galaxy contributed their non-linear approach to comedy, resulting in punchlines that sometimes arrived before their setups, which, Maya had to admit, added an entirely new dimension to the concept of timing. But it was their return visit to Concordat space that really set the universe on its ear. "Are you absolutely sure about this?" Maya asked, watching as their small fleet of comedy-enhanced ships approached the border of their old galaxy. "The last time we were here, they tried to exterminate us." "Precisely!" their Andromedan allies chorused. "But now we return not as refugees or rebels, but as entertainers. Besides, our probability calculations suggest they've developed a sense of humor since your last visit. The constant exposure to Murphy's Law has had interesting effects." They were right. The Concordat had changed. 3 years of dealing with unstable reality and probability fluctuations had forced them to adapt. Their once rigid bureaucracy had developed flexibility out of sheer necessity. Their perfectly ordered cities now featured chaos parks, where citizens could safely experience controlled bursts of improbability. Their children played games that involved predicting random quantum events. The response to their arrival was still cautious, but no longer hostile. The new first contact protocols even included a section requiring officials to attempt a joke before any serious negotiations could begin. The resulting diplomatic session was unlike anything in recorded history. Humanity's mastery of verbal humor, combined with Andromedan probability manipulation and the Concordat's newfound appreciation for controlled chaos, produced what Dave would later calculate as the single most improbable peace treaty ever signed. Key points included the establishment of designated comedy zones, where probability manipulation was not only allowed but encouraged, a cultural exchange program focusing on the development of quantum-safe knock-knock jokes, regular competitions to see which species could produce the most groan-worthy puns without causing permanent damage to space-time, a mutual defense pact against humor-resistant entities that might threaten the cosmic balance of order and chaos. "You know what the best part is?" Maya said later, watching as a group of formerly straight-laced Concordat bureaucrats attempted to perform a probability-enhanced version of Who's on First. "That we've fundamentally altered the development of multiple civilizations through the power of bad jokes," James suggested. "That we've proven humor is truly universal," Dave offered. "Nope." Maya grinned as reality hiccuped around them, turning everyone's formal robes into t-shirts with physics puns on them. "The best part is that somewhere out there, Murphy is looking at all this and thinking, yeah, that seems about right. And if the fabric of reality itself seemed to chuckle at that moment, well, that was probably just a coincidence. Probably. The end, unless something improbable happens." Postscript. The success of the first intergalactic quantum comedy tour led to the establishment of regular cultural exchanges between galaxies. The Concordat's official archives now include a strictly regulated but surprisingly extensive collection of dad jokes, each carefully rated for their probability of causing spontaneous reality distortions. Some say that on quiet nights, you can still hear the echo of the universe's laughter, though that might just be another side effect of humanity's unique approach to cosmic diplomacy. As one Andromedan philosopher noted, "Sometimes the best way to understand the universe is to make it laugh with you." The fact that this profound statement was immediately followed by a "why did the quantum particle cross the superposition" joke was,